What's up, y'all, and welcome to the Station Bakery. Let's make a delicious vanilla cake. You'll be able to find a full list of ingredients listed on my blog, The Station Bakery, and I'll have it linked in the description below. I like to weigh out my ingredients simply because it provides more accurate and consistent results. I weigh out in ounces because that is the way that I learned, but you can weigh this out in grams. So this recipe calls for 4 eggs at room temperature. You can use warm water to bring that to room temperature quicker. 4 ounces or 1 stick of butter, and you'll need to melt this butter down in the microwave. I like to break my sticks and butter in half, 1 to quicken the melting process, and 2 so it fits inside of my small bowl. Next, I'm going to measure out my buttermilk. I like to use buttermilk over regular milk just because I feel like it gives it a little bit extra oomph. But feel free to use regular milk as well. You can also sub out almond milk. But we are going to measure out 8 ounces and set that to the side to allow it to come to room temperature. This next ingredient might have you scratching your head and saying, huh? But I am adding in 5 ounces of strawberry yogurt. I like to mix and match the flavors of yogurt depending on the cake that I am making. So this is my base vanilla recipe, but I am adding in a strawberry filling. So I find that adding in this strawberry yogurt just helps the cake to have just a nice subtle flavor of strawberry to go along with that strawberry filling, and I feel like it just meshes the flavors together better. Next, I add in 4 ounces of sour cream. Now, if you don't want to add in a flavored yogurt, you can just go all sour cream, which will make it 9 ounces. But I'm doing a split of 5 and 4. And just a reminder, all of the ingredients will be listed on my blog and it will be linked in the description below. So now we're moving over to our dry ingredients. Yes, you guys, this recipe calls for a box mix. I like to use the white cake mix from Duncan Hines. I just love the flavor and the texture that this particular cake mix gives. So I'm going to pour that into our bowl. Always remember that you can switch out things as you see fit. So if there's another brand that you would like to use, go for it. In the same bowl, I measure out my white sugar. I am going to be using 7 ounces of white sugar. I like to mix all of the dry ingredients into the same bowl just because it makes less mess for me to have to clean up afterwards. And because this recipe is just that simple, that everything can be mixed together all in one process, which actually makes this a really great recipe for beginner bakers. Now I'm adding in my all-purpose flour. And this, you guys, is really where using a scale to weigh out your ingredients really makes a huge difference. So flour can pack itself into your measuring cup in many different ways. There really isn't a way to be consistent with putting your flour into a measuring cup to get the exact precise measurements each time. But when you weigh it, you know for a fact that each time you are going to have the same amount of flour every time you bake a recipe. And that's one of the reasons why I moved more towards weighing my ingredients versus just measuring them out using measuring tools. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add my extracts into my buttermilk mixture. I'll be using regular vanilla extract, but I will also be adding in strawberry extract because I want to have that slightly strawberry flavor to complement my strawberry filling that will be going inside of this cake. Feel free though to just use vanilla or switch it out for other extracts as you see fit. So I'm going in with 1 teaspoon of strawberry extract. You can add more or less depending on your taste. And then I will also be adding in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I usually don't actually measure out my vanilla extract. I simply go by eye, but I know for the purpose of this tutorial, it is helpful to have some kind of guidance to go off of. So I will start off with 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and then add more if needed, or take away some if needed. This is a very loose recipe, so you can make it be what you want it to be. But I generally go off of eyeing it because that's how my grandmama taught me. Now that all of our ingredients have been prepped and prepared, we are now going to let this sit and come to room temperature. While my ingredients are coming to room temperature, I am going to prepare my baking pans. So I am using 6-inch cake pans, and they are 3 inches high, not the typical 2 inches. So please pay careful attention to that. This batter makes a good amount of cake and it fills these pans perfectly. I will have the exact pans that I used. They are my absolute favorite and such a game changer. I'll have them linked in the description below, so if you're interested in checking those out, it'll be linked down there for you. I am spraying the inside of the pans with canola oil. This is part of my process in order to keep my cakes from sticking inside of the pan. It makes a lovely coating around the cake that allows them to just slide out of the cake and not leave any residue behind. So I am giving it a light, gentle spray. You don't want to be too heavy-handed when spraying this because you don't want to create chunks and clumps on the outside of your cake. So just very gentle and light. Once you've lightly coated the inside of the pan with the canola oil, I'm then going to go over it with a gentle sprinkle of flour. So I simply pour the flour into the pan and then shake it and move it around, making sure to get it evenly coated all around. If there is a spot that does not get covered with flour, there is the risk that your cake will stick to the pan and not come out, and nobody wants a stuck cake inside of the pan. It's just completely heartbreaking. So make sure that you give an even coating of flour inside of all of your pans. You don't want to go overboard with coating it with flour, just a very light film. I like to pat the cake pan to move it around and get out any of that excess flour that might build up inside of it, and then I just transfer it over into another pan. And what this canola oil flour mixture does, it helps your cakes to literally just slide right out of the pan. I have rarely had any issues, actually I could say never had any issues using this method with releasing my cakes from the pan. So this is what it should look like. As you see, it's just a very light, thin layer, and this is going to set you up for success to have beautiful cakes coming out of the oven. Back over to my ingredients. They are now room temperature and they are ready to start adding together. So here I am taking my 4 eggs and I am cracking them into my buttermilk and extract mixture. I am always such a dangerous egg cracker. But thankfully I have not had any issues or mishaps yet. But one day I will finally crack my eggs in their own separate bowl just to avoid any shells getting in them. But until then, we'll keep it going. So let's mix up that mixture to get it combined really well and just to emulsify that egg a little more. Now I have my butter that I melted down in the microwave, and we are ready to add in all of our ingredients into our mixing bowl. I like to start off with our dry ingredients, but because this recipe is so simple and so easy, you can do them in whatever order. But I prefer to mix in the dry ingredients first and give it a little stir to break up any clumps and just to mix in all of those, the cake, the flour, and the sugar, mix it in really well. Next, I'm adding in my buttermilk and egg mixture to my dry ingredients. There isn't really a need to mix this up right now and then add in your next thing. We're literally just going to drop all of these ingredients into this bowl and then mix it. I just have, my processes just because I like to be a little extra, but just dump all those ingredients into the bowl and you'll be ready to go. And remember, this is our strawberry and sour cream mixture, strawberry sour cream. Yeah, and we're gonna drop that into the bowl. Then we're gonna place it onto the stand mixer and mix it up. I use the paddle attachment to mix up my batter, and I mix it for a couple of minutes just to make sure that it gets nice and smooth and all of the ingredients get incorporated really well. And this is what the batter should look like. It's a loose batter, but not too loose and not runny, but it still has some thickness and some hold to it. Doesn't it just look so yummy? All right, so now that our batter is mixed and ready to go, we're going to clean down that paddle attachment and the sides of the bowl, and we are going to now pour it into our baking pans. I don't weigh out my batter when I'm pouring them. I do eye it to try to get them as even as possible, but please feel free to weigh them if that is something that you are looking for. I just take it and divide the batter up, and if I see that one has too little, then I'll go back through and add more. If I see that one has more than the others, then I'll scoop a little out and then distribute it amongst the others. And I love a good bowl scraping because we gotta get all of that batter. Let me know in the comments below if you're like me and you gotta get it all out of there. So here I am just pounding these cake pans onto the table to kind of help bring some of those air bubbles that might have gotten incorporated into the batter up to the top so we don't have as many holes in our cake batter. Now that my batter is evenly distributed between these pans, I'm going to put them in the oven. It's already been preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to let these bake about 30 minutes. Depending on your oven, you may need to bake it more or less, so you will have to keep an eye on that. And now we wait. Oh look, they're ready. Wouldn't it be great if cakes could bake up that quickly? So now I am taking the pans out of the oven to let them cool off. I do let them cool down for just a few minutes before I start taking them out of the pan. Now that the cakes have cooled down a bit, I am ready to remove them out of their pans. This is the way that I take them out of the pans, but you know, you do you. Whatever your process is, this is just easiest for me. And now we're just going to flip it over really quickly and watch how easily and smoothly this cake just falls out of the pan. Look at that. Look at that. And that's because of that canola oil and flour mixture that we put on it earlier. So now I'm just getting another base and I'm putting it on top of it so then I can flip it over so that it sits upright. Now if you have a thing about getting super flat tops, then by all means leave your cake flipped upside down, and that is going to help flatten out that top. For me, I really don't care. I like slicing off the tops of cakes just because it's so satisfying to me to cut into cakes. And it allows me to be able to taste test the cake before I send it out the door. So that, you guys, is how I make my vanilla cake recipe. I hope that you try it out and you enjoy it. If you do, please be sure that you come back and let me know your thoughts on it. And subscribe and turn on your notifications because I'll be decorating this exact cake coming up really soon. So you don't want to miss that. So make sure that you get notified when that video drops. Now let me share with you the inside of this cake, what it looks like. This cake has a super nice crumb. It's super moist and delicious. This is like absolutely one of my favorite recipes. This is my go-to recipe for majority of my cakes. As you can see here, it just has such a beautiful texture to it and a beautiful thickness to it that it will be able to hold up for decorating. And like I said earlier, please be sure that you subscribe and turn on those notifications. And keep watching through the end for a sneak peek of me stacking and filling this cake in preparation to get it decorated. If you would like to see more of my cake recipes, be sure that you drop me a comment below letting me know. And as always, guys, I appreciate you so much. And until next time, peace.